What's up, my friends? Welcome to the You Are the Rockstar Show, episode 8. Your thoughts are not real. You heard it. Your thoughts are not real. No matter how much you might think they are not. They are only real when you act upon them and then make them so. We'll unpack that in a little bit, but just to get started, I want to shout out the Presence app. It's a really epic app that I have meditations that I recorded and have living on that space. It's a well-being app for everyone, using mindful tools to strengthen the connection with yourself, your relationships, and also with technology. So you're using technology and strengthening your relationship with it. It helps to pause, meditate, and reflect daily, and the Presence app guides this, reminding you of your intention and helping you pause to drop in. So speaking of dropping in, right where you are, as long as you're not, operating heavy machinery or a car or something that requires your eyes to be open, just close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open, that's fine. And allow yourself to just surrender a little bit. Maybe you gently wiggle side to side. Feel your body. Feel what it's like to be you in this moment. Now take a nice big breath in from your nose. Slower, deeper breath out from your mouth. Big inhale, fill up with air. Slower breath out from your mouth. Just let the air fall from your lips. Another one, deepest breath in you can. Fill on up. And then slowly exhale, completely relax. And if your eyes were closed, you can open them. Thanks for taking a second to drop in with your breath, that thing that's constantly acting as a key to your flow state, if you choose to see it that way, and rock it accordingly, because we always got it. So this episode's called Your Thoughts Aren't Real. And what we're really going to do is talk about overcoming the inner critic in our mind in the form of our thoughts. And what do I mean by our thoughts aren't real? Well, like I said earlier, our thoughts are only real if we act upon them. This is something I've talked in depth with a friend of mine, Suzanne Jeffers, who is a psychologist and behavior analyst. And she has referenced this topic multiple times, that our thoughts aren't real. They only really become real when we choose to act on them. And I think that's a really important topic right now, with mental health being at the forefront of a lot of things going on in the world, where our relationship with ourselves is really challenged, whether it's through divisive media we consume or just being locked away from connection with other beings in like a physical sense. We have the ability to text and call, but I think a lot of times we are missing out on human-to-human connection, whether it's just in the simple form of eye-to-eye contact, hugs, or just the presence of another being. I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up thinking that our mind controls us. And when we are cut off from these tools of connection, it's harder to get that mirrored reflection back at us from other people. So therefore, we're kind of like left with our shit, excuse my language, a little bit more so than normal, because we're kind of left to our own devices. And if our devices, aka our thoughts and our mind, are not positive, they can really beat the crap out of us. So saying your thoughts aren't real is a very important topic right now that I think everyone should embrace, because we all have crazy thoughts. From time to time, those weird things, like when you're standing next to the edge of a building, or you're like driving a car and, you're like thinking about, what if I just turned into this lane, or what if I did that? We all have weird thoughts, and it doesn't mean that they are real. It means that they are like clouds in the sky passing by. Doesn't mean we need to act on them. So they only become real when we choose to act on them. Now, why is this a big topic right now? Well, suicide's a big deal. It's something that I've talked in depth with people about, especially having one of our largest songs be Sunrise, which is a song for hope, and having the reflection from a lot of people that tell us that that song has helped them in a dark time, which is beautiful and amazing, and I'm always humbled by that. And I think this idea of our thoughts not being real is something that we should always remember, because I watched this show the other day. Super epic. It's called 9 Perfect Strangers. It's on Hulu. So good. So good. But the topic of suicide comes up throughout it. And one of the things that's mentioned is that most people, whether they go and are jumping off of, let's say, like a bridge or a cliff or something, to transition into spirit, to kind of be over this physical body, this physical reality, regret it right after they jump. And I'm assuming that data is gathered from people who've lived from that experience, of course. Why is it important, again, to think about our thoughts not being real? Well, if we believe our thoughts as real, then we start to associate our being with our thoughts. And it's not true. So our inner critic in our head comes in the form of thoughts. It shows itself in the form of thoughts. And knowing this, if we were to believe our inner critic, which we know enjoys talking shit about us, then we might choose to act not in accordance with our personal truth or with our higher self. Instead, we're believing something in our mind that's been co-created from consuming media, or things that people told us while we were growing up that we internalized and then made part of our self-talk. So understanding that our thoughts are not real is a way of kind of putting a guard at the door to observe what's coming through and to filter it. To know that just because you might have a thought in a moment, it doesn't mean that it's who you are. It can be fleeting, and it could be something just to be observed and let go. And I think mental health right now is not nearly talked enough about in the media. There's all sorts of reasons for that, but it gets me fired up. But our mental health, like, if we don't have that, it's kind of like health in general. If you don't have your health, it's going to be the one thing you're striving to get. If you don't have your mental health, you're going to feel like you're living in a world that I guess for like analogy purposes, you're going to be feeling like you're swimming upstream constantly. You're going to feel like the world is out to get you. The world is going to be dark. The world is going to suck. All positive affirmations, positive mindset aside, when that stuff in your mind is crap, the inner critic's beating you up, you're thinking like you're not good enough, you're being told maybe to do things, or you're feeling like you just don't want to exist. Those things are a product of, like we said before, experiences. It could be other things too. It could be all sorts of stuff. The inner critic shows itself in the form of thoughts. And I don't know about you, but for me, my inner critic likes to talk shit. And when it talks shit, I need to observe it. So how do you observe it? Well, you do what we did at the beginning of this, and you breathe. You watch your breath. And this creates the buffer, the barrier to separate your mind and who you are, so that this way you can observe it for what it is, something that is constantly changing and moving, not something always to take action on. So I flipped open a chapter of my book today when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about on this episode. And the first chapter that I opened to was chapter 16. And ironically, it's called Don't Believe Everything That You Think. Now, I just want to read the last few paragraphs of that chapter with you guys, because there's an exercise that is helpful in overcoming this inner critic and overcoming this inner dialogue if it is negative, so that we can observe it and not take it so damn personally. So before I knew I could control my thoughts, I would let them beat me up. I didn't know I had the ability to step back and observe them. Once I discovered this power of bringing my awareness to my thoughts and to myself, I began watching my thoughts from another perspective. I found that many of them did not serve me. That was when I began the process of becoming aware, observing, and then detaching from them. So try this. If you're not in a quiet place, that's totally fine. Just listen to my voice and maybe take a mental note to do this later. If you are in a quiet place, awesome. But in this passage, this is how I wrote it at the time. It says, try this. Get into a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness to that ruthless inner critic in your head. You know, that thing we talked about before, that voice, those thoughts that tend to talk shit about you. Listen to them. What are they telling you? Whatever it is, just observe it. And one way to observe that is to imagine that you're in a movie theater. Your thoughts are the movie that's playing on the screen. And now imagine that you're the projectionist, that person behind the window. You get to choose what's put into the projector and shown upon the screen. So as you watch from behind the projector, you're not only seeing the movie, but you're seeing yourself in the movie. Now just observe what's on the screen. Watch it. Watch what comes up. Do you like what you see? You get to choose what's playing. So if you don't like it, you can always take another film and put it in the projector. You have that power. Witness yourself. Witness your thoughts. And witness your power in creating them. You're much greater than you think, so be aware of the self-talk you engage in. Practicing this technique helps realize when unwanted past conditioning comes up. Whether that's writing a book, going on stage, or trying anything new for the first time, when negative thoughts appear, notice them and remember your power to change them. Be aware of your thoughts because awareness sets us free. Now, if you close your eyes, you can open them. I wanted to share that passage because there's one thing I want to add to that. It's that at the end where I say awareness sets us free, this I still believe in, of course, I wrote it. But when I was saying that when your negative thoughts appear, notice them and remember you have the power to change them. I just want to kind of piggyback on that a little bit more because the awareness of these things doesn't just change them. It brings them into a different lens. So we can observe them and work to create this barrier between the association of who we think we are and our thoughts. Now, why is this important? Well, that's exactly what we've been talking about, where if we start to associate our being at the core of our existence with our thoughts, then we're going to start believing something that's completely not true. A lot of our thoughts that we tell ourselves aren't true. I'm a product of that. It's existed in my life. If I believed everything I thought, I would have never written 2 books. I would have never started playing the bass guitar. I would have never started a band. I would have never bought a house. I would have never started a podcast. I mean, I could just go on and on. Because no matter what you do, there's going to be the inner critic in your head. And my coach, Lisa Nichols, she talks about how the bigger you play, the bigger your breakdown. So it means that the bigger you play, the bigger the breakdown you potentially will have. And I believe that's because of the inner critic in our head. Now, how do we navigate that space? We navigate that space through meditation, just breathing like we did earlier, and using this technique in the meditation to observe the projection of our thoughts in our life. And if we don't like what's being played, just remembering the power we have to change it. But first, creating the separation and knowing that we are not our thoughts. They do not define us, and they're not real unless we act upon them. We're always going to have those weird thoughts that cross our mind. Doesn't mean we need to give them energy or attention. We can simply observe them and let them go like a cloud in the sky. That's another meditative practice you can do. Just pretend like your thoughts are clouds and they're passing by while you keep coming back to your breath. But think about this movie analogy, because it's something that I've done a bunch in my life, and it's really helped me to realize the patterning that doesn't serve me in my life, whether it's like hanging out with the wrong people or not creating at the level that I know I could be creating at because the voice in my head was just telling me that I wasn't good enough. Or like I said, when I was writing my first book, I almost didn't release it because that voice came in towards the end and was just like, who do you think you are? And we're all going to have that voice no matter what we're doing in life. There's no escaping it. There's no point in trying to think that we're all like, unicorn farts and like fairies and shit. It's like, it's going to be what it's going to be. Some of the stuff's rough. Some of the stuff's difficult. But how we navigate that will depend upon the practices that we have at the core of our foundation. And if you start to implement practices like watching your thoughts, you're going to be able to disassociate from the things that do not serve you, therefore not beating yourself up as much, hopefully so you can live with less suffering, more in the flow, feeling good with who you are. So that's what I mean by your thoughts are not real. I hope this lands with you. I know If you're listening to this, most likely there's a chance you're supposed to be listening to it. That's just the way I roll. I believe in synchronicity. I do not believe in coincidence. So just know you're not alone. And if you got stuff creeping up in your head, making you think that you're not valuable, you're not worthy of being here, just know that it's not true and it'll pass. And if you'd like something to do, practice coming to your breath, practice the meditations that I just referred to, or reach out to a homie, reach out to somebody that you got in your life and just chat and be like, yo, I got these thoughts. What the heck? Talk about them. Talking about them can get them out and allow for multiple parties to observe them if you're having trouble observing it yourself. So thanks for taking the time to tune in today. I hope this provided value for you guys. I love you. I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to listen. It means the world. Thank you again. If you haven't yet, I did release, within the last few weeks, I released 2 more meditative tracks on Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Music. If you just search my name, Woody Woodrow, they'll come up. They're just instrumental tracks, but there's something that I'm very excited about because I had this vision a while ago of creating music to use in meditations and yoga flows, and this is the beginning of that. So if you have a minute and would like to go listen to some chill tunes, go check them out and let me know what you think. And as always, my books are available on Amazon. You Are the Rockstar, first and second one. Just search You Are the Rockstar on Amazon or just type my name in and you'll find them. But again, thank you guys for taking time out of your day. I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.